Are you stupid? These 12 letters, 3 simple words uttered to me by my math teacher, still echo in my head. I was just 13 years old. It was a typical Monday morning slipping by as the arms of the clock were teasing me by moving painfully slowly. Then abruptly, my teacher shattered the monotony by summoning me to the board. With trembling hands and a racing heart, I hesitated but accepted the challenge. But as I struggled to find the solution to the problem, the room went silent. But the stifled snickers and the mocking whispers remained loud to my ears. In that moment, I felt the weight of these words pushing down on me, suffocating me with shame and inadequacy. From that day forward, my confidence plummeted, and the once enticing world of mathematics became a battleground of self-doubt and frustration. I stopped trying in school and felt myself incapable of attempting new things. Today, I'm not here to tell you that we need to change the world or that I have a solution to ending global inequality. Rather, I'm here to talk about how I envision the education system to be so that future 13-year-olds don't feel such a strong sense of belittlement that I felt. Instead, and this all begins with the education system. Education is the bedrock of modern society. I mean, think about it. It's where we're institutionalized from the ages of 4 to 18, and probably another 3 to 4 years if we choose to do a bachelor's, and another 2 for a master's, and however long it takes for those ambitious enough to take a PhD. It is where our ideas of the world are constructed, and it's where we begin to shape the path we want our lives to take. Anyone who knows me can tell you that I'm passionate about education. Yet writing this speech was difficult, as I was constantly taunted by the voice in my head telling me that I was too stupid. It hit me eventually. Why do I struggle with my confidence, and why was I never taught how to be more confident? I mean, you don't have to go far to realize that everyone struggles with their confidence, including those we aspire to be like. In fact, 85% of people report struggling with self-confidence issues at some point in their lives. But what if we can significantly reduce this percentage by pinning confidence as an essential pillar to the education system? I now realize that it wasn't just math that caused my lack of confidence, but it was the way in which the curriculum is designed, pinning students against one another to see who achieves the highest grades and labeling them as failures for not passing an exam or scoring high enough on an exam, to being overwhelmed with work that lacks a practical component and rarely applying anything learned in the classroom outside of it. Unfortunately, this carries on to the real world, where all of a sudden we feel stuck as we were never taught how to apply our learnings into practice. My loss in confidence became so internalized that I found myself shying away from asking questions, making bold moves, or asserting myself. Because I and many students across different educational curricula are conditioned to believe that we are never good enough. I'll never forget this time when I was asked to lead a public speaking training as part of my school's Model UN. When I had asked a girl to go up on stage and recite her speech, she started crying and felt shut down being unable to do so. When I had asked her why, she told me it was because I feel like I'm a failure and I feel like I'm incapable of doing anything. And I could relate to this feeling and empathized with how the school system had failed her by instilling this sense of unworthiness in her. Now, I'm not saying that the education system should fix everything about us and that it should perfectly equip us for the uncertain world we currently live in. But what if the curriculum can teach us how to accept failure, learn from this failure, and make something out of it? Post-COVID, there's been a cultural shift that school is optional. Attendance is at its lowest, as many feel that there is no point to attending school. And this itself should be a huge instigator into why we should imagine an education system that places confidence and determination at the heart of it. Because when you do, students will feel excited, inspired, and willing to learn. Of course, part of this confidence building process extends beyond learning how to deal with failure, but it also includes the need for the classroom to be stimulating, much like how overstimulating our world can be. And this can be done by building on a student's interests, passions, by allowing students to lead the classroom, and by removing rigid standardized examination. Instead, embracing passion projects as part of the evaluation criteria. Let's go back to math again, a core subject across every different curriculum. And it can be made to be more engaging by, for example, teaching students how to create a machine learning algorithm to predict the price of their favorite commodity. Take, for example, cryptocurrency. And it's this multidisciplinary approach in core subjects that allows for a student to realize the importance of their subjects and the weight that it holds, rather than considering a subject important just because it determines whether you fail or pass. As a result, the student's confidence will also be built by feeling that their input contributes to the world around them. Having an approach to education focused on confidence building also allows students like us for when we have to go to the real world and face its major complex problems that although we might not know how to fix them, we can at the very least attempt without feeling disheartened. We need to foster confidence in the student, and we need to allow for students to take the risk and embark on the unknown, rather than categorizing them as a failure or not being the quote-unquote best student. When we look at the world around us, everything is constantly changing. Our methods of communication are changing, and so are our ways of conducting business. Not to mention the many problems that face the globe. In fact, according to the World Economic Forum, by 2025, 97 million new jobs will be created. Jobs that correspond to new demands and that require innovative solutions. Hence why this same report also mentions how amongst the most vital skills are entrepreneurship and innovation. Thus why it's important to build the students' confidence and to keep it beyond academia by teaching students to embrace this unknown. But most importantly, the main reason I believe this lack of confidence exists is because of a real disconnect between in-class learning and real-world applications. I have always felt this sense of insecurity that I'm unable to go to the real world and that I don't have the necessary skills for that. So from an early age, I decided to prioritize my extracurriculars, as it was what I was passionate about, and so naturally, I prioritized my extracurriculars. There, I learned the soft skills I currently value. And while I'm by no means an expert in public speaking, time management, or conflict resolution, coming to France and speaking to students both within and outside the university, I saw that there was very little emphasis on soft skills. So practicing what I preach, I decided to start a student association guided by filling the loose threads of the education system, by teaching students some of these soft skills through interactive workshops. Although there is room for improvement, I felt like it was important to have that exposure, because when you do, you really begin to see that student's confidence shine through. Remember that girl I mentioned earlier who felt so disheartened that she was unable to deliver her speech on front of the stage? She now went on to write some of the most persuasive and powerful speeches I have ever heard. And lucky you, I'll give you her little secret, and it only takes 3 simple steps. Step 1, writing down her accomplishments. In this way, you give yourself credit for everything you've accomplished, and you look through the challenges that you have faced in life, and that this is just another piece of the jigsaw puzzle that is life. Step 2, faking it till you make it. Practicing confidence even when you don't feel it. In this scenario, this included giving impromptu speeches until you begin to realize that there is no such thing as a perfect speech, rather it is the way in which you say it. Step 3, being in an environment that normalizes failure. where you begin to embrace that failure is inevitable rather than an internalized issue. So rather than calling a student stupid for not knowing how to solve a math problem, what if we instead taught the student not just to solve the math problem, but to be excited at the prospect of approaching new challenges and new difficulties? As our world is rapidly evolving, so are our problems. And we need to foster a generation of people with creative and unique approaches to solving these problems. And it all starts with building the student's confidence. And this all begins with the bedrock of modern society, education, which should embed confidence at the heart of it. Because when you do, students will be inspired. Because when you do, students will be curators, innovators, and change makers. So that we can find solutions to problems no generation before us has had to face. Thank you.